Hello and welcome to our Wellness Matters talk. We have this evening a talk with Christine Britton about how to accept disability for your child at every age and stage. My name is Nicole Imgrund, and this talk is part of a series of talks. We have about 60 of them on our website on the blog page that you can view that we have already hosted over the past couple of years. And we have another 8 coming up early in the new year here. And so you're always welcome to join us, but I'm very excited about this evening's talk. Christine has been a therapist at Rivers Edge Counseling Center for the past 4 years. She's an amazing therapist, and she sees adults and teens as well as couples. And I know you're going to say a little bit more about yourself in the opening of your talk, Christine, but thank you for being here, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, everybody. So you are here because we're talking about accepting your child's disability at any age and stage. So there's going to be a really heavy emphasis on acceptance, but I'll get to that in a minute. My name is Christine Britton, and of course, Rivers Edge is doing this amazing set of webinars that are available to the community for free. So some of you are here live in person, and then some of you are going to be watching this later. So yeah, I'm so happy to be able to present this to you. I'm going to tell you in a minute a little bit more about myself, but one of the things to know about me right from the beginning is that I was a teacher before I was a therapist. So I like to do a little, what are we going to learn? And then we learn the things, and then what did we learn, right? So I'm going to tell you what we're going to do tonight. So first, I'm going to introduce myself. Then we're going to talk about who all of you are. And then we're going to talk about what it is that you're facing in your daily life. We're going to talk about what is acceptance. If we're going to be working on accepting our children's disabilities, then what does that mean, right? Then we're going to talk about what acceptance isn't, which I think is just as important in defining it as what it is. And then we're gonna talk about how acceptance applies to us. How do we apply this to our children with disabilities in our lives as we face them? Okay, so introductions. Who am I? So as I said, I was a teacher. I was a science and math teacher. So I always like to introduce that there's this like little bit of a sciencey, nerdy aspect to me. I like facts. I like dealing in certainties. But then I also became a yoga teacher. So that meant that I also have this really strong belief that our minds and our bodies kind of all work together. So both of those things really influenced my work as a therapist. And like Nicole said, I've been with Rivers Edge for 4 years now. Such an amazing place to work. I've learned so much. And I tend to work with families with children with disabilities because I'm also a mom. And my oldest child just turned 18 this summer, and he's autistic. So I come to this from a place of personal experience as well as my work as a therapist. So that's who I am. So who are you? And this is where I would love to be able to use the chat. Oh, I do actually have a mouse now. So let me just make sure I can see the chat.
You did get the chat working. So
yeah, I see that. That's
cool.
great.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you could see it. Okay.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. That will be helpful. So I assume a bunch of you are parents. I assume that a bunch of you are maybe, or some of you might be teachers. You might be other family members, or someone else who loves or cares about a person with a disability. So those are some of the assumptions that I'm making. I'm not entirely sure if that's accurate, but because the title of the webinar is accepting your child's disability, I'm assuming that there's a bunch of parents in the crowd. But regardless, this will be really applicable to anyone who loves anyone with any kind of disability. That's my hope. And frankly, I'm hoping that you can kind of generalize it to other areas of your life. I'm super passionate about the concept of acceptance in general, and partly because I've raised a child with disability. So that has made me much more accepting of things. What do you guys do? Well, I assume that you care for somebody with a disability. I assume that as part of that caring, you face challenges that other people don't necessarily have to face and don't necessarily understand. Raising a child with a disability or living with an adult with a disability comes with its own very special set of circumstances and experiences that I always say there's no way to pick up those gems unless you're on that path, right? So that is my assumption, is that some of you are facing a bunch of challenges. I'm also going to make the assumption that one of the things you experience is that you worry about the future of the person that you love with a disability. You worry and you wonder about what's going to happen to them, what's their life going to be like, what does the future hold? And then you might also wonder and worry about your own future. What does your life look like because you care for someone with a disability? And for some of you, that's because the disability that the person you love has means that their life is going to be shortened. For some of you, it's that they might outlive you. And what does that look like? So there's lots of sort of lots of questions that come up, right? For all of us that are facing that. There's that level of uncertainty that comes with loving someone with a disability. Okay, so let's talk about acceptance. This is the big topic of the night, and I hope by the end of this webinar, my big hope for the big takeaway for you guys is that you're like pro acceptance, and I think I'm going to make a pretty good strong case here. So let's talk about what acceptance is. Acceptance is experiencing ourselves and our own emotions as they are. So that means that as an emotion arises, we recognize that emotion, and then we also allow that emotion to be exactly what it is. So sometimes that's going to be sadness, frustration, anger, and that can come up in a bunch of different ways, right? Sometimes you'll experience jealousy for people who are not dealing with the disability that your life is sort of soaked in. Sometimes you're going to experience sadness at the loss of the things that the person in your life with a disability is not able to do or has lost the ability to do, right? So there's lots of different things that come up there. So experiencing our own experience of loving and caring for somebody with a disability as it is. And then also experiencing the world around us as it is. So recognizing that other people's children or loved ones are not experiencing some of this stuff. Recognizing that other people, their children grow up and move away from home, or their children, can participate in track and field, right? These little things that it's like, oh, okay, that the world around me is happening the way that it is happening, right? And then also experiencing other people as they are. So experiencing the person that you love with a disability as they are. So experiencing them as they are unable to blank, they're unable to talk or walk or, live past the age of 20 or whatever it is. They're unable to, read or whatever it is that they're dealing with. And that as a result, you are also dealing with, experiencing that exactly as it happens. Acceptance is present based. So this is going to become really important as we're going through when we're talking about what acceptance is. Acceptance is very much based in the present. How are things right now? So we're experiencing ourselves and our emotions as they are currently. We're experiencing the world around us as it is right now. We're experiencing our loved one and all the other people in the world exactly as they are in the current moment. Okay, so that's a really important piece. And then it's observing truths, right? So it's saying, this is a thing that I can see with my eyes. This is a thing that I can experience myself. I know this to be a truth. that all of those things wrapped up together are pretty good signs that you're experiencing some acceptance. Okay, what is it not? Look at our little guy here with with his white flag. He is surrendering entirely, but maybe not in a great way. So acceptance isn't quitting. Acceptance isn't saying, well, I guess that's it. No point doing anything, right? It is not giving up. So it's not saying, there's nothing more that can be done here. I let it go, right? It's not doing nothing. So you can have acceptance of something and continue to move forward. That can happen at the same time. So there can be movement in acceptance, and we're going to talk more about that. It's not resisting. So it's not saying, no, I refuse this. I will not allow this to be true. I will not experience it as it is. I will resist it and push against it. It's not future based. So it's not, here's what I believe is going to happen next. It's also not past based. So it's not, this is what has always happened in the past. And so therefore I can draw some conclusions, right? And this is a really important one. Acceptance isn't contentment. So this is a big one that, these two things often get combined, that if we accept something, we're saying, I'm okay with this, right? So if we're accepting something, we are experiencing it as it is, but that doesn't mean that we like it, right? We don't have to like that the person we love has a disability. In fact, we might hate it. We might really hate it. And we might be able to accept our own experience of that we really, really, really wish things were different than they are, right? Okay, so I'm going to lead you guys through an example. In this example, we're going to go on a Jeep trip. So we are going to get in a Jeep and we're going to do some off-roading. It's going to be a really good time. So I want you to imagine what is reasonable for a Jeep trip. We're going to prepare. So we're going to make sure we have a full tank of gas. Our Jeep, as you can see, has that lovely spare tire on the back. Fantastic. So we're going to have some water. We're going to have some snacks. We're going to have our cell phones and chargers. We're going to be like pretty prepared for this. We might even be wearing some, rubber boots, whatever. We've got our plan. We're going to go on our trip. Now, let's imagine we get out there and we're off-roading and we get stuck in the mud. So we at first we're kind of like, maybe we're not totally stuck. We try to back up, we go forward, and pretty soon it's fairly clear we're stuck. We're stuck, super stuck in the mud, right? In this example, what would giving up look like? Giving up would maybe look like saying, well, I guess we live here now. This is it. We can never go home. We're stuck in this mud. We've tried to get out. That's it, right? So we just, I guess that's all, right? What would denial look like? So denial would look like, no, we're not stuck. We're not stuck. This isn't how it is. We're going to be able to get out, right? So there's this like, not allowing what is true, right? Resistance. What would resistance look like in this situation? Resistance would look like, no, I refuse to believe it. We're not stuck. I won't allow it. I'm going to go to the back and I'm just going to push and push on this Jeep, and not get anywhere. Right. And what would acceptance look like? Okay. So acceptance would look like we're experiencing the world and our own emotions as they are. So we're recognizing we're very stuck. We really can't get out. That's the truth of this situation, right? Remember, acceptance is observing of truths. I'm really upset. I was excited about this trip. There's a bunch of stuff we were going to do, and now we're stuck and we can't do it. My friend is freaking out. She's scared. She doesn't know what to do. That's an observation of the truth, right? So Acceptance is, wow, look at the situation that we are currently in. Wow, look at exactly what are the truths of our situation. Okay. What are the benefits to accepting the truth that we are stuck and that maybe it's a little upsetting or maybe it's a little frustrating or whatever? What are the benefits to that level of acceptance? I'm going to see if I can. I can't see the chat now, of course. Oh, there it is. So I'm going to ask you guys who are here in person with me to just jot something in the chat for me. What do you think are the benefits to accepting the situation versus the denial or the resistance or the giving up? What are the benefits to saying, oh, here's the truth, we're stuck? This is like pressure for you guys because there's not many of you here in the live session. So I have this expectation of you now to go in the chat and respond. If it feels a little bit too much to respond, then that's okay. You don't have to. But if you can think of what are the benefits of accepting that we would be just stuck here together. And you can answer that last question too. Does accepting that we're stuck mean that it's okay that we're stuck? Does accepting that we're stuck mean it's fine? Being stuck is totally fine, right? Okay, so what are the benefits? One of the benefits is that we're willing to look at the truth. Relief to some extent. Yeah, good. That's a great answer. There is a little bit of a relief that comes with the acceptance. There's a little bit of, okay. One of the things that happens right after acceptance is what now? Okay, we're stuck. What now? Yeah. Somebody else said it allows you to begin to explore other ideas. Yes, yes. And accepting doesn't mean it's okay. Great. So it's not okay that we're stuck, but it is true that we're stuck, right? It's not okay, but it's true. So if it's not okay, but it's true, then we can say, I love that you said we can explore other ideas. Yeah, then we can say, now what? Okay. Well, do you have cell reception here? Okay, maybe we should call a tow truck. No cell reception. Okay, well, let's maybe go for a walk, see if we can get somewhere where we have cell reception. Have we tried, do we have a shovel? Have we tried digging? Like we can kind of explore a bunch of possibilities. And we're never saying like, oh, this is so fun. This is so great. Like, no, in fact, it might really be awful and it might be really challenging and scary and all kinds of other things. So it's not okay, but it's true, right? So just because we've accepted it, this is the truth of our situation, doesn't mean that we were fine with it. And, we have to like look for silver linings and things like that. Not at all. We just accept. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to give you a second example. So in this example, let's imagine that you just found out you are going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. You can no longer walk. And this one might hit a little bit closer to home for some of you. This is something that is new in your life. Up until now, you've been able to walk, and suddenly the truth is, for some reason, you're in this wheelchair, right? What would giving up look like? Giving up would look like, well, there's no point even doing, I wanted to become a teacher, but there's no point doing that anymore. Or I've always wanted to do a triathlon. No point doing that. Right. Or, or even just like a deeper level of giving up would be like, there's no point going on. Right. What would denial look like? Denial would look like, no, this isn't true. I don't have to be in this wheelchair, and like pushing yourself up out of the wheelchair and falling down, right? Denial would look like, no, I'm pretty sure this isn't true, right? What would resistance look like? Resistance would look like, no, there's got to be another way. I need to talk to another doctor. I'm going to fight this. I'm, never going to give up. I'm going to like keep pushing through, right? So sometimes denial and resistance have there's a similarity there, but there's a bit of a difference. Resistance is much more like a fighting, right? A fighting against the truth, right? What would acceptance look like? So acceptance would look like, here I am in this chair. This is my life now. I now have to think about things like ramps and handicap parking spots and what kind of vehicle my chair will fit in, and, like maybe my kitchen table needs to be lower. Maybe, all kinds of adaptations need to happen in my life. And that is the truth of my life now. There is a difference between my past life and my current life. And I recognize the truth in that, right? What are the benefits to acceptance in this case? So same benefits as you guys mentioned before. There's a level of relief. There's a level of like, okay, I don't have to fight and try, and I don't have to just give up on everything I've ever wanted. So that's great. And there's also the ability to say, okay, what next, right? What happens if I accept this is as the new truth of my life? Now what, right? So there's always that benefit of it allows us to move forward with a sense of like, there's a bit of a sense of calm that comes with it, because there's no longer this like pushing back, resisting kind of energy. And does accepting that situation mean it's okay? Of course not. It's not okay that you can't walk. That it's not, there's a bunch of things happening there, right? There's probably some feelings of it's not fair. And remember that acceptance is also accepting our own experience of our own emotions. So you might be really mad about it. You might be really sad about it. I would expect a bunch of those emotions, right? There's a huge loss. There's probably a grieving process that needs to happen. So is it okay? No. And it might not actually ever feel okay. It might always feel like, there's a real loss there. There's always an adaptation that has to happen, right? So it doesn't make it okay. But it does still remain true. Why do we resist then? Why would we resist when resisting feels so challenging, when resisting requires so much fight? Why would we do that when we could do this acceptance thing, which, Christine's making sound really lovely? So just type in the chat for me, if you can, some of the possible benefits of denial, right? Why would we say, no, this isn't true. This isn't true. I don't think this is right. Why would we do that? And if you want, you can also add benefits of giving up and benefits of resistance. So why would we say, no, well, there's no point doing anything anymore. There's no point even carrying on. And why would we say, I'm going to fight this. I'm going to, go to the ends of the earth to make sure that this is, that there's a different way. I'm going to never give up. I'm going to never, let it go. Right. What would be the reasons why we would do that? If any of you can think of any of those reasons, just throw them in the chat for me. What would be the good things? And for those of you watching on the recording later, just ask yourself, why would I deny something that is true? Why would I resist something that is true? Why would I feel like giving up on something that by all accounts seems to be a true thing. One of the things I can think of is that denying or giving up or resisting prevents the feelings that come with accepting a truth. Sometimes accepting a truth means we accept all of the emotions that come up with that. And sometimes there's a lot of sadness. Sometimes there's a lot of anger. Sometimes there's a real feeling of, this isn't fair. I don't like this. It's not okay, right? And what are the challenges then of acceptance? If we accept something as true, if we accept that it is happening, what's so bad about that? Somebody in the chat saying benefit of resistance, to a certain extent, it fires your desire to explore all options. Yeah. Then you don't have to. Yeah. Maybe there can be some improvement, if not a complete reversal. Yeah. So it feels like you can, yeah, I see what you're saying. It's sort of, if you resist, it's like, now I have this like burning desire to like sort things out, like find, really, really, really explore the situation. And that's a great point, because there's actually nothing wrong with that, right? Like, and especially because, so in this webinar, we're specifically, we're skirting around it for right now. We're going to get to it, but we're talking about someone with a disability, right? That we love and care about. So it's pretty reasonable. Like if we go back to the wheelchair example, if we were told, your child will never walk, your child is in a wheelchair. There's a certain level of resistance to that to begin with that is actually maybe reasonable. So the acceptance at that stage might be like, I accept that the doctor feels that my child will never walk again, but I want to get another opinion. Or I accept that, like, most people in this situation don't ever recover their ability to walk again, right? I accept that that's true. But I still want to, part of the what next that comes with that acceptance is, well, I feel like there's something, I heard about this experimental treatment, or I heard about this person that this worked for, or, so it's not a bad idea to explore options. So that's actually fine, right? That's not resisting truth. That's like, that's still trying to figure out what truth is. Is it true that my child will never walk again, right? Resistance is denial would be if doctor after doctor said, yeah, this is the case, and you've tried experimental treatments and you've done all these things. And then at that point, you're still like, no, I won't believe it. At some point, there is that power and that relief in a level of acceptance, right? In a level of saying, okay, I think this might be the truth that we've uncovered. So thank you so much for putting that in the chat. That's a really great example. So the challenges of acceptance that come up, though, are that then we have to accept that there are some, in that moment when you say, okay, I think we've explored all the possibilities. If we go back to the Jeep example, we've pushed, we've gone backwards and forwards. We've put, stuff under the touch. We've really tried. And now we accept this is a true fact. We are not getting out of this mud on our own. We need help. We need to leave this situation, whatever it is, whatever the truth is, right? And somebody just put in the chat, challenge of acceptance, grief over the loss of dreams and possibilities. Yes, 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 yes. That is exactly it. It's this, that you also, when you accept the truth of a situation, you also have to accept that there's a loss. There's a loss there because you wanted things to be different than they are. And that is going to not feel great, right? So as soon as we accept, then we also have the emotions that come up and we have to then deal with that. Yeah. What comes up for you when you think about your situation and these ideas of denial, quitting or giving up, and resistance and acceptance, what are the things that kind of percolate for you? Just kind of notice what's happening for you when you think about that. Does it make you angry? Are you like, no, Christine, you don't understand my situation and I refuse to accept it? Or you don't understand, my situation is different and acceptance would be negative in some way, right? Just kind of notice what comes up for you there. Okay, so how do we apply this, right? How do we apply this to our lives, loving people who have disabilities? Let's ask ourselves what is true. So think for yourself, is there anything that you've been resisting or denying? Is there any truth in your situation that you have been pushing up against, right? Is there anything that feels like you just haven't, there's been some kind of block in you that you just haven't wanted to accept or admit is a reality for you, right? What is true about your child's disability, right? And again, I'm making the assumption that you're parents because you're at this webinar, but the person that you love, their disability, what is true about it? What can you say is, pretty much everybody would agree about that disability? What are the truths that live there? What is true about your life as it is impacted by this disability? What are the freedoms that you don't have? Or what are the decisions that you can't make? What are the things that are not available to you or to your child or loved one who has this disability, right? What are the truths about your life and about their disability? And then what does it feel like to accept the truth and the reality of your situation, right? What does it feel like to say, I can allow that to be true. I can experience that as it is. Maybe it does come with that little bit of relief. Maybe it does come with some level of like, okay, what now, right? And what does it feel like to accept your own emotions about the situation? So remember that one of the things that we accept is we accept that we will have an emotional response, because just because we accept it doesn't mean it's okay. It's probably not fair. Whatever that means, right? It's probably not fair that you have this different life than other people, and that your child or the person you love has this different life than other people, that they face challenges and you face challenges that other people don't necessarily have to face. And there are going to be a bunch of emotions that come up with that. And often the grieving process that goes along with accepting a disability is just like any other grieving process. It comes in these very, unexpected and random waves and at unexpected times. It kind of catches you off guard. There will be, you'll see somebody else doing something that you can't do, or somebody, taking for granted something that is easy in their life, or you'll see some other child or some other person doing something that the person you love can never do, right? And that is going to come with a bunch of emotions. So what does it feel like to accept those emotions as they are, right? As they come up, as that sadness comes up, or that anger or that frustration, what does it feel like to just kind of say, yeah, this is how I'm feeling, and that's true for me in this moment. And then let's go deeper into that how does it feel question. How does it feel physically, mentally, emotionally to say, if you say to yourself, like, no, it's not true, I can't accept it, I don't like it, I don't want it, I don't accept my child's disability, I don't accept that it's true, I'm gonna continue fighting, I'm going to continue pushing against it. How does that feel if you can kind of like turn inward for a moment and just kind of check in with the physical experience of that? What does that feel like? And then on the other side, how does it feel physically and emotionally to say, I accept that this is true. I accept that this disability is exactly as it is, and that that is those are facts of my life. Those are facts of my loved one's life, right? Just notice the physical sensations that come up with that acceptance versus the physical sensations that come up with that resistance, with that denial, with that like kind of quitting or giving up sort of feeling, right? And so then if we can come to that place of acceptance, then the next thing that comes up is the what now, right? The next thing that comes up is the, okay, so now I have this level of acceptance of my life, my emotions, my child's disability. What do I do next, right? What comes after that? If you don't quit and you don't give up, then what do you do next, right? What does it look like if your child has, let's say your child has like a cognitive disability? What does it look like to say, okay, you know what? The school just told me that they think maybe he should, be in a special needs classroom. Or the schools just told me that they can't support him and maybe we have to move him to a different place. Or what does it look like if you can kind of say, okay, the school has just told me that she'll never be able to, write. She just doesn't have the fine motor skill for that. If you don't give up, if you don't quit, but you do accept the truth of those situations, then what does it look like? Sometimes it looks like adaptations. Sometimes it looks like modifying things. Sometimes it looks like, turning over different possibilities, right? Like, okay, well, so if this classroom isn't going to work, what's next? If she can never hold a pencil, like maybe there are different kinds of pencils, or maybe there's typing, or maybe there's, some sort of speech devices, right? This is like, it opens up this lens onto what can happen, what is possible, what are the adaptations, right? How, and this is such an important part, I want you guys to really mentally and emotionally dig into this piece. How do we accept things as they are and still act, right? How do we have both? This is like this beautiful union between acceptance and action. So I'm going to give you an example of what acceptance and action looks like from one of the first places I ever learned it, which is from yoga. So I used to like attack yoga. Like it was like, oh, I gotta do all the things in the best way. And I was very competitive about it. And so there were sometimes poses that, and postures that I couldn't do. And I was like I gotta learn how to do it. I gotta like practice and try and, stretch and get more limber and like, then I can do it, get stronger and all these things. And what I learned over time was that accepting where you're at, right? So today I cannot do that pose. Doesn't mean that you don't ever do yoga again. That's that giving up, right? That's that like, well, there's no point. It doesn't mean that you say, I'm going to, project into the future and say, well, like, I'm never going to be able to do that. So I don't need to try, or I don't need to do these other things that would, get my body ready for that or whatever. What happens is in this beautiful union between acceptance and action, what happens is you say, I can't do that pose today. That's the acceptance. That is the truth. The truth is my body cannot do that today. And then the action is, I'm going to still do yoga today. I'm still going to do yoga tomorrow. I'm still going to do yoga the next day. And I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe at some point I'll be able to do it. But regardless, there's benefits to this action. So in the example of your children, what it's going to look like is my child can't read today. And I don't know what's going to happen. The truth is, the acceptance piece is my child cannot read. The action is, I'm going to keep reading books to my child. They seem to really like those books at night. So I'm going to keep doing that. And maybe one day they'll read, or, we're going to try different kinds of books, or like, there's still this there's acceptance of what is true right now. And then there's action because we don't know what the future holds, right? And if it's like, my child cannot read and will never read, then it's like, okay, that I can accept. If that is the truth, I can accept that. And then I can still say, okay, but that doesn't mean I can't read to them. That doesn't mean we can't watch movies together. So there can be action after acceptance. So this is why acceptance and giving up and quitting are not the same thing, right? There's this, you can do both. You can accept and act, right? So you can still have goals, right? You can still say, like, when I was doing yoga, it was like, I really want to be able to do that pose. That would be amazing. That's a great goal. I want to have that goal. I'm going to work toward that goal, but I'm also going to accept that not today, and maybe not tomorrow, and maybe not 2 weeks from now, maybe not 5 years from now. I can all the way along, I can accept as I'm moving toward that thing. I can still be moving toward something, even if I accept that I'm not there, right? So, and this is going to be different in all of your specific situations, but you're still allowed to have goals. You're still allowed to take action. And here's an important distinction I want to make: curiosity versus expectation. So you can be curious about, I wonder what's going to happen, versus I think I know what's going to happen. And so opening up that curiosity will help a little bit too. And I'm just going to leave you with this quote from Cheryl Strayed, who's my favorite author. Whatever happens to you belongs to you. So the things that are occurring for you in your life, with your child, with their disability, those things belong to you. You get to decide how to act. You get to decide what is worthy of acceptance. You get to decide if you want to resist or deny. Those are choices that are available to you. And you can kind of approach that how you like, right?